Most diesel owners don't realize that some of the most damaging habits they have behind the wheel are completely unintentional. And the surprising part is that most of these habits feel totally normal, even responsible, because they're things we've done for years without ever questioning them. Diesel engines are built to be durable, powerful, and long-lasting. But they're also engineered with very specific expectations for how they'll be used. And when everyday driving doesn't match those expectations, problems slowly begin forming in places we can't see. By the time symptoms show up, the damage has usually been building for a long time. So in this video, I want to walk you through 5 extremely common habits that quietly shorten the life of a diesel engine far more than most people realize, plus 1 bonus habit that can save you from thousands of dollars in repairs. My goal isn't to overwhelm you with information, but to help you understand what's actually happening inside the engine so that you can protect it without feeling like you have to completely change the way you drive. Let's start with the one nearly every diesel driver is guilty of: short trips. A diesel engine is designed to reach high operating temperatures so that all of its systems, combustion, emissions control, oil circulation, function the way they're supposed to. But when you fire up the truck and drive a mile or two to work, or run a quick errand and shut it off again, the engine never gets hot enough. It seems harmless, but inside the engine, cold operation leads to carbon buildup in the EGR system, incomplete DPF regeneration, and moisture accumulating in the crankcase. The EGR system slowly clogs as carbon collects on the valve and passages. The DPF fills with soot that never burns off because the exhaust never gets hot enough. Even your oil, which is supposed to protect the engine, begins mixing with unburnt fuel and condensation. Over time, the contaminants thicken and weaken the oil, increasing wear on bearings, cylinder walls, and even the turbocharger. The frustrating part is that none of this happens overnight. It builds slowly, quietly, and consistently. If you drive a diesel mostly in short bursts, you're unintentionally creating the perfect environment for long-term problems. One of the easiest solutions is to combine errands so that the engine has time to reach temperature, or take a longer drive occasionally to let everything clean itself the way it's designed to. Now, let's talk about another habit that sounds logical, but is actually harmful: long idling. Many diesel drivers think idling is useful or even beneficial. Maybe you want to warm up the truck, keep the cab comfortable, or avoid restarting the engine repeatedly. But modern diesels don't handle idling the way older mechanical diesels did. At idle, fuel doesn't burn efficiently, and that leads to carbon forming on the pistons, injectors, and inside the exhaust system. The DPF fills with soot more quickly when the engine is idling than when it's driving under load. And the biggest hidden problem is fuel dilution. When a diesel idles, especially when it's cold, tiny amounts of fuel leak past the piston rings and mix with the oil. Over time, this thins the oil out until it can't properly protect the engine. Drivers often don't realize anything is wrong because the truck still feels smooth, but dilution weakens the oil film that keeps metal parts from grinding against each other. Eventually, this leads to accelerated internal wear. The easiest fix is to avoid extended idling whenever possible. If you're waiting for someone, loading something, or sitting for more than a couple of minutes, it's better to shut the engine off. Modern engines are perfectly capable of handling restarts. The wear from idling is far worse than the wear from restarting. Another habit that surprises diesel owners is trusting long oil change intervals. Many dealers advertise extended intervals, 10, 12, even 15,000 miles, because it sounds convenient. But diesel engines run hotter, produce more soot, and deal with more complex emission systems than gasoline engines. Diesel oil absorbs soot, fuel vapors, and chemical byproducts, and even high-quality synthetic oil can't maintain its protective properties forever. This is why serious diesel owners stick to 5,000 to 7,000 miles between oil changes. If you tow heavy loads, idle frequently, or drive short distances, that interval should be even shorter. Diesel oil will always get dark quickly. That's normal, because soot is suspended inside it. But darkness isn't the problem. The real threat is the chemical breakdown that happens long before the oil looks bad. Oil is cheaper than repairs. Changing it more often is the simplest way to guarantee your engine lives a long life. Next, let's talk about a habit that almost everyone has done at some point: accelerating hard when the engine is still cold. When a diesel engine sits overnight, the oil thickens and pools in the lower parts of the engine. The moment you start the truck, the oil pump begins circulating it, but it takes time before the oil reaches every moving component. If you jump straight onto the throttle, merging onto a highway, pulling out of a driveway, or climbing a hill, the engine is forced to work hard before it's properly lubricated. That means pistons scrape against cylinder walls with thicker oil, bearings experience extra friction, and the turbo spins at extremely high speeds without enough oil flow to protect its bearings. Because diesel engines operate under high compression, cold acceleration puts even more stress on components than a gasoline engine. The long-term effects show up slowly: reduced compression, worn bearings, increased blow-by, or failing turbos. The solution is simple and costs nothing. Allow the engine a few minutes to warm up and avoid heavy throttle until the coolant and oil temperatures are stable. A little patience at the start of your day can add years to your engine's life. There's another habit that's equally damaging but rarely discussed: shutting the engine off immediately after hard driving. When you're towing, climbing steep hills, or driving fast on the highway, the turbocharger can get extremely hot. If you shut the engine off right away, the oil inside the turbo stops flowing and sits still inside a housing that's still scorching. That trapped oil burns and hardens into carbon, a process called coking. Over time, carbon blocks the small oil passages that feed the turbo bearings. Once the bearings lose lubrication, the turbo wears out or fails completely. Turbo replacements are expensive, but the fix is simple. Let the engine idle for 30 to 60 seconds after heavy use. This allows cooler oil to circulate and gradually bring temperatures down. Some modern diesels include turbo timers or cooling systems that handle this automatically. But if yours doesn't, taking a moment to let the engine cool is a habit that pays off massively. Before we wrap up, there's a bonus habit that can save you from major repairs: ignoring fuel quality. Diesel fuel varies from station to station, and contamination is more common than people realize. Water, dirt, and microbial growth can clog filters, damage injectors, and destroy high-pressure pumps. Water is especially dangerous because it doesn't compress. Even tiny droplets can cause severe injector damage. To protect your engine, buy fuel from reputable stations, drain the water separator regularly, and consider using additives during winter or when you suspect fuel quality might be questionable. Clean, dry fuel is one of the most important factors in a healthy diesel engine. All of these habits might seem small on their own, but together they can dramatically shorten the lifespan of a diesel. The good news is that once you understand what's happening behind the scenes, you can easily adjust your habits to match what your engine actually needs. A diesel will take care of you for hundreds of thousands of miles if you take care of it the right way. If you found this helpful, feel free to stick around for more diesel insights and tips. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you for taking the time to learn what truly keeps your engine running strong.